Hey guys, welcome back for another video. We got a good one prepared today. What we'll be doing is we'll be focusing on our best bets for week 12 of the 2024 NFL season. We're going to go over every single matchup, break them down, but we'll be focusing on the betting stuff, the money lines, the spreads, the over-unders for every single game for week 12. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. If you have any comments about these games or anything else, please drop them below and I will respond. Every week we go over every single NFL game, doing the best bets, doing our predictions, who's going to win, who's going to lose, and what we think the final score will be. And we also do the same thing for every college football game as well, the top 25 ones and the non-top 25 ones. If you're a football fan, if you're a sports fan, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you subscribe so you can follow along with us. We already have our Thursday night game in the books. We had the Browns beating the Steelers. Props to the Browns. They won one. It was snowy. It was cold. They pulled that one out. Now we're going to be moving on to our Sunday game. Sunday, November 24th. Our first one is at 1 p.m. on Fox. We have the 8-2 Minnesota Vikings versus the 4-6 Chicago Bears. The big thing for the Vikings is obviously just keep the turnovers down. Their offense has been clicking. They have a top 10 NFL defense, but you want to go into this second half of the season riding hot. Sam Darnold does have a couple more turnovers the last couple games. Can they keep those turnovers down? They have that top 10 defense. They're number 3 in sacks right now. They're top 10 for tackles for a loss, quarterback pressures. They have the defense to take this team on the road, but the Bears have a really good defense, but they're riding a long losing streak right now, mainly due because they went back to what their issues were when the season started. The offensive line holding up and buying Caleb Williams time to find those targets down the field. And on top of that, he's holding the ball just a little too long, but the offense did look a little better this past weekend. They have the defense. Let that offensive line hold up. Let that open up some running lanes so that can open up the play action to push that ball down the field. But obviously, the Minnesota Vikings are going to be the favorites here. They are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 39.5, and the Vikings have a slight 56.7% chance to win this game. Like we said, they're 3.5-point favorites. Sam Darnold coming in right now, 2,400 yards, 19 touchdowns, 10 picks. Having a really good season. Just keep those turnovers down going into this second half. And then Caleb Williams closing on 2,100 yards, 9 touchdowns, 5 picks. Look for him to be using his legs here if that pocket caves. And the Vikings are averaging 24.4. They're only giving up 17 points a game. They're throwing for 225. They're running for 116, only giving up 74 yards on the ground. And the Bears are averaging 19.4. They're only giving up 18.7. They also have a top 10 defense. They have a pretty good wide receiver core. Odunze, Moore, Allen, but they got to get Swift going. And obviously for the Vikings, they have Jones. They have Justin Jefferson, who might be the best receiver in the NFL. We're going with a bit of an upset here. We have the Bears pulling off the win, winning this one 20-17. They are due to get a win. We have them pulling it out ever so slightly, winning this one 20-17. So we're going to go with that plus 3.5, and we have this game coming in at the under. And our next matchup on Fox at 1 p.m., we have the 9-1 Detroit Lions. Who's hotter than the Lions right now? Probably the top-to-bottom best team in the NFL currently at Week 12 of the season. They'll be playing the 5-6 Colts. They benched Flacco this past weekend. They went with Anthony Richardson. He actually had a pretty decent game. He was able to push the ball down the field. He had a great game running. Can he continue to keep that momentum going here? Obviously, the Lions, they have the number 1 offense in the NFL. They also have a top 10 defense. They are getting after it. Will they be able to bottle up Richardson and force him to make those accurate passes down the field? Right now, the Lions 7.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 49.5, and they have a 70.7% chance to win this game. Looking at the team stats here, you have Goff going back to 2023 form, closing in on 2,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 9 picks. Richardson closing on 1,300 yards, 5 touchdowns, 7 picks. I've been saying the whole season, since actually last year, Richardson is not a good passer by any means. He had a great game this past weekend, but overall, very inaccurate passing the ball. Right now, the Lions, the number 1 offense, closing in on 33.6 points a game. Crazy numbers. They're throwing for 242.5. They're running for 152.5. Very balanced, and they're only giving up 17.7 points a game. The Colts, they average 21.5, and they're giving up 22.7. They got to get Jonathan Taylor going. He's that X factor. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. They also have Pierce, but Richardson has to make those accurate passes. If he is able to open up the passing game here, that's obviously going to help Jonathan Taylor a lot, but that's easier said than done versus the Detroit Lions defensive line, and they're loaded on offense. Goff, Gibbs, Montgomery, St. Brown. Multiple ways they can beat you. Throwing the ball, running the ball, defense. We have the Lions winning this one, easily cruising here. Winning this one 34-20. We have them covering the spread. We're going to go with the over. And then at 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the 3-7 Dallas Cowboys versus the 7-4 Washington Commanders. Right now, Washington is a 10.5-point favorite. The over-under here is 45.5, and the Commanders have a 74.7% chance to win this game. Obviously, the Dallas Cowboys have completely fallen off the rails. This was a team that could have potentially made the Super Bowl this past season. Now they've completely fallen off. Dak is out for the season. CeeDee Lamb cannot carry this team by himself. Cooper Rush, we do know he's a more than serviceable backup, so you definitely want to keep your eye on that. He played pretty decent this past season, but this is a high hill to have to climb here. Dallas is really bad this season. Their strength used to be the offensive line, running game, and their defense. All three of those performing very badly this season. One of the worst, if not the worst, rushing team in the NFL. The offensive line can't hold up. You have to be a mobile quarterback because you're under pressure the whole game. And that defense is statistically second worst in the NFL. And then you look at Washington, they're much improved over last season. This is two teams going in completely different directions. Daniels closing on 2,400 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 picks. Dallas is averaging 18.7, throwing for 241, running for 82, and they're giving up 29.3 points a game. 29.3 points a game. A really bad defense this season when they had a top 3 defense last year. They have a lot of positions they have to fix in the offseason. Washington, they have a top 5 overall offense. They're averaging 28 points a game, throwing for 219, running for 148, and they're giving up 22.1. They have Daniels, Robinson Jr., Terry, and on the other side, Dowdle's leading the way for the Cowboys, but he's only averaging about 30 to 40 rushing yards per game. That's not going to cut it here. CeeDee Lamb having a great season, closing in on 800 yards, but he's basically the primary weapon. They need a wide receiver number 2. We have Washington winning this one, 27-17, so that would still be the plus 10.5, and we're going to go with the under, just barely. And then on CBS at 1 p.m., we have the 9-1 defending champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. We did have them losing this past weekend to the Browns. They finally got their first loss, but you don't want to sleep on them because their defense is one of the best in the nation. They'll be playing the 3-7 Carolina Panthers, who are one of the worst in the NFL at almost every single position. Right now, the Chiefs, 10.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 42.5, and the Chiefs have a 76.6% chance to win this game. Now, it is worth noting, since Bryce Young's been back at the quarterback position, he has been overall playing better. They're not as bad as they previously were. They did rattle off a couple wins. Right now he's closing in on 900 yards, 4 touchdowns, 6 picks. So you see the turnover issue, and they have a lot of issues pushing the ball vertically. Thankfully for them, Chuba Hubbard's been having a really good year at the running back position. Patrick Mahomes is closing in on 2,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, 11 picks. Probably the worst Kansas City offense in the last 8 years, but still, they continue to win games. Things are bouncing their way because their defense generates turnovers, giving their offense the short field. They are still going to get turnovers. They're definitely going to get turnovers versus the Patriots. That is a playoff Super Bowl caliber defense. They're going to get after it. They're going to shut the run game down. Right now, the Chiefs are averaging 24 points a game, throwing for 227, running for 111, giving up 19.1. They only give up 85 yards on the ground. It's a suffocating defensive line. They're going to seek to shut down Hubbard, put this game on Bryce Young's shoulders. Do we get turnovers from Bryce Young? Right now, the Panthers are only averaging 16.7. They give up 31 points a game, which is actually lower than where it previously was. They're going to have to cut those points down. They're going to have to only give up 20 points here to even have a chance to beat the Chiefs. Can they get that done? Chiefs are getting some playmakers back. Their offense will be getting healthier, better. Mahomes, Hunt, Pacheco, Kelsey, Worthy, and the Panthers. Basically, the whole offense is geared around Hubbard, but he can't do everything. We have the Chiefs winning this one and winning it handedly, taking it 28-13. We have them covering the spread, but we're going to go with the under. And then at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 2-8 Tennessee Titans versus the 7-4 Houston Texans. The Texans want to get back to winning football. Right now, they're going to have Nico Collins back as of right now. That is a massive difference maker. He was leading the NFL in receiving yards when he went down. His loss was massive. He's going to be back, especially since they've been down Diggs for the year. Right now, the Texans are pretty major favorites here. They're 8-point favorites. The over in here is 40.5, and the Texans have a 67.9% chance to win this game. Tennessee, no matter who they roll out at the quarterback position, Levis, Rudolph, they're still having issues moving the chains, getting first downs, punching the ball in the red zone, and they have major turnover problems. And for the Texans, Stroud closing on 2,700 yards, 12 touchdowns, 7 picks. He's going to be very happy to get Nico Collins back. Tennessee, they're only averaging 17 points a game. They're giving up 26.3, but they're only giving up 280 offensive yards every single game. Their defense has actually held up well. The reason they're giving up so many points is because they have so many turnovers on their own side of the field. They got to clean that up, and the Texans are averaging 23.5, throwing for 222, running for 121, giving up 21.5 points a game. They have Mixon. They have Collins back. They're very happy about Collins. And for Tennessee, Pollard having a decent season. They have Calvin Ridley. We have Tennessee getting back in the win column here, winning this one 24-20. We're going to go with the +8, but we're going with the over. And then our next matchup at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 4-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the 2-8 New York Giants. Obviously, the big news here, they didn't just make Daniel Jones not their starter. They actually released him. So Tommy DeVito, who did light a spark under this team last season, he will be starting this game. Right now, the Buccaneers are 6-point favorites. The over here is 41.5, and the Bucs have a 62.6% chance to win this game. Do not sleep on Tampa Bay. Obviously, their season was kind of stunted by they lost Evans, they lost Godwin. Godwin was leading the NFL in receptions when he went down. Massive loss. Both guys were veteran players. Evans should be coming back fully healthy at some point. If they are able to get him back sooner than later, obviously that's going to make Baker Mayfield very happy. But even without those guys, with the young guys, Baker Mayfield has continued to vertically push the ball, continuing to put up great passing numbers, but they got to get the defense sorted out. It's closing in on 2,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 picks, and then you have Tommy DeVito who's going to be starting on the other side. Tampa Bay still averaging 27.9. They have a top 5 offense, throwing for 236, running for 125, giving up 26.4 points a game. And for the Giants, they're averaging 15.6. They're giving up 22.2. They got to get that offense going. They have Tracy Jr., Neighbors, but Neighbors, when healthy, needs someone who can consistently get him the ball. And the Bucs, they're going to need Irving to have a good running game and to be able to catch the ball out the backfield. We have Tampa winning this one, finally getting back in the win column. They win it 25-17. They cover the spread. We're going with the over. And then on CBS at 1 p.m., the 3-8 New England Patriots. Drake May is playing better the last few weeks. They'll be playing the 4-6 Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins, they're finally on a winning streak, 2-game winning streak. They're finally getting some wins. Tua's back fully healthy. A very deep offensive roster. Now they have some momentum. You slowly keep chipping your way back to 500. The Dolphins, 7.5-point favorites. The over here is 46.5. They have a 67.8% chance to win this game. We know who's on the roster. Hill, Waddle, Berrios, Beckham, Achin, Monster. Multiple weapons. Tua, don't get a concussion. Don't tackle anyone. Don't try to run or scramble for first downs. And Drake May closing in on 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, 6 picks. The Patriots are averaging 16.5. They're giving up 22.5. They don't have a bad offense, but they need that offense to keep their defense off the field, let them rest. And for the Dolphins, they're averaging 18.1. That number's starting to climb back up now that they have Tua, and they're giving up 22.1 points a game. For the Patriots, they want to establish the run game with Stevenson. How does the Dolphins' defensive line hold up? And can the Patriots potentially get into a shootout with the Dolphins' offense? We don't think so. We have the Dolphins winning this one. 28-20, we have them covering that spread, and we're going to go with the over and slowly working their way back to 500. And then at 4:05 p.m. on CBS, the 6-5 Denver Broncos versus the 2-8 Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders just don't do anything necessarily good. They don't have a good offense. They don't have a good defense. One thing Denver does, they have a playoff caliber defense. Bo Nix closing in on 2,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, 6 picks. They're averaging 21.4. They're throwing for 197. They're running for 116. They're only giving up 16.6 points a game. That is a playoff defense. You can bring that defense with you on the road. That's why they're 6-point favorites. The over under here is 41.5. But they only have a 51.2% chance to win this game because a lot of people are thinking the Raiders, even though they're not a good team, they are due to get a win. Gardner Minshew, O'Connell, no matter who they start, they don't move the ball very often, but at least Minshew can get some touchdowns. They're averaging 18.7. They are giving up 28.5. That's about as bad as the Dallas Cowboys. This is a bottom 3 defense in the NFL. They got to get Madison going. Brock Bowers is a legitimate weapon. Look for Denver. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play special teams. They're going to rely on that defense on the road here. Bo Nix, scramble, dink and dunk, accurate passes, move the chains. That's all you have to do. Keep your defense off the field, and when they're on the field, they're going to force turnovers. We have Denver winning this one, 24-18. We have them covering the spread. We're going with the over. And then at Fox at 4:25 p.m., the 6-4 Arizona Cardinals versus the 5-6 Seattle Seahawks. This is two teams who sometimes play very Jekyll Hyde. Sometimes the Cardinals, they're rolling here. They're a really tough team to stop. And then sometimes they play pretty sloppy football. But overall this season, they've been having a great season so far. Kyler Murray really picking things up with the new offensive scheme. They are the favorites. Previously, the Seahawks were the favorites. Now it's the Cardinals coming in as 1-point favorites. The over is 47.5. Cardinals have a 55.4% chance to win this game. This game is practically a 50-50, practically a pick-em. Which version of the Seahawks show up? They started the season out 3-0, looked great, fell off the rails, but when they're on, their offense can vertically pass the ball with anyone. But Geno Smith has just as many interceptions as touchdowns, so he's a 50-50 guy. Which version of him shows up? Kyler Murray, he can sling it. He can also extend and move the plays with his legs. Right now, the Cardinals are averaging 23.8, throwing for 197, running for 150, and they're giving up 22 points a game. And for Seattle, they're averaging 23 points a game, throwing for 261, the number one NFL passing team, only running for 91.5. They gave up 23.8. They're number one in passing, but sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing when they have a lot of picks. For the Cardinals, if they're healthy, they're going to have Connor, they're going to have McBride, they're going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. They have the better offensive skill position players, but obviously Seattle's not that far behind them. They have Kenneth Walker, they have Smith, they have DK Metcalf. This game is one that can go either way. That's why it's practically a pick-em. We have the Cardinals pulling this one off on the road, winning it 27-23, covering the spread, going with the over. And then on Fox at 4:25 p.m., the 5-5 San Francisco 49ers versus the 7-3 Green Bay Packers. This is a really good game. This spread is moving a lot because the big news is Brock Purdy is no longer going to be starting this game. Do not underestimate that. That's obviously a massive loss there. This team goes with Brock Purdy to how good or how bad he plays. When the 49ers are healthy, they have the best top-to-bottom roster in the NFL, but that's the big point. When they're healthy, they have yet to be fully healthy this season. Right now, the Packers, 5-point favorites. The over-under here is 45.5, and Green Bay comes in here with a 72.7% chance to win this game. I actually originally had San Francisco pulling off the win here, but now that Brock Purdy's out, that has completely changed things. Right now, you have Jordan Love. He also has to play a clean game. He can put up massive stats passing and running, but he does have a turnover problem so far this season, closing on 2,100 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 11 picks. San Francisco, they're averaging 25 a game, throwing for 251, running for 148. They can definitely move the ball, but how do they respond without Purdy? How can they rally together? They're giving up 22 points a game. For Green Bay, they're averaging 25. They're throwing for 238, running for 150. A very good ground game, very balanced offense, and they're giving up 21.3 points a game. They have Jacobs. They have Reed. San Francisco, when they're healthy, you're looking at Christian McCaffrey, Mason, Jennings having a great season so far. Ayuk, Debo, Kittle. That's when they're healthy. That's the offense that they would be fielding. That's just not the way it is this season. Jennings will still have a pretty good game here. They will still be able to run the ball, but we have Green Bay winning this game, winning it 28-20. We have them covering the spread. We're going with the over. And then our second to last game, but our final Sunday night game at 8:20 p.m. on NBC, the 8-2 Philadelphia Eagles playing really, really good football on both sides of the football right now versus the 5-5 LA Rams. You don't want to sleep on the Rams. They're much better than their 5-5 record. Don't forget they were without Nakua. They were without Cooper Kupp. When this team is fully healthy, they have an extremely talented offensive roster. They have Matthew Stafford, the veteran, slinging the ball, finding the playmakers. They have Williams, Atwell, Cooper Kupp, Nakua. That's an offense that can technically keep up with anyone in the NFL. This game could easily turn into a shootout. Philadelphia's 3-point favorites. The over-under here is 48.5, and they have a 60.8% chance to win this game. What sets the Eagles apart? They've had turnover issues since last season, but probably for the last 7-8 games, they've been playing turnover-free football. They've been playing smart football. They are now the number one rushing team in the NFL. The rushing game opens up the play action, opens up the passing game. You have Smith. You have multiple weapons you can hit deep, and you're able to run the ball, and your defense is a top 10 defense. A very talented team. Right now, the Eagles, they have Hurts closing in on 2,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, 5 picks. Stafford closing in on 2,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, 7 picks. The Eagles are averaging 25.7, throwing for 199, running for 181.3 points per game. That's a difference maker. Barkley having a great season. They're only giving up 17.9. The Rams are averaging 21.3, throwing for 241, running for 95, giving up 23.9. Barkley's going to make the difference. A.J. Brown, Smith. We have the Eagles winning this one on the road, 24-21. That's a push right now. And we're slightly coming in at the under. But do not underestimate the Rams offense. This is definitely a game that I want to keep my eye on. And then our final game of the season, the Monday night game on ESPN at 8:15 p.m. on Monday, November 25th. The 7-4 Ravens coming off that loss to the Steelers versus the 7-3 Chargers. If I had to pick a team that was kind of built similar to the Steelers, it would probably be the Chargers because they're both based around running the ball and playing really good defense. But the Ravens are going to be the favorites here. 3-point favorites. The over-under is 50.5. They have a 62.7% chance to win this game. Lamar Jackson's putting up MVP caliber numbers again. They're averaging 29 points a game, 25 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's also able to run the ball, extend plays with his legs. This is one of the best offenses in the NFL. They're actually statistically number 2 overall in the NFL. Justin Herbert's finally starting to get that passing game going, closing in on 2,200 yards, 13 touchdowns, 1 picks. The Ravens average 30.4. They throw for 252.8. They're running for 177.3, just behind the Eagles. They're giving up 24.6, but where their weakness is, the secondary gives up 285 passing yards per game. That's really bad, especially versus a Chargers team who is finally finding their rhythm in the passing game, and the Ravens are ranked last in passing yards given up, but it is hard to run on them. They only give up 77.5 yards per game. You can throw all over Baltimore, but you cannot run on them, and we know Harbaugh wants to run the ball. It's going to be strength on strength here. Chargers averaging 22, throwing for 204.8, running for 122, giving up 14.5 points a game, which is the best defensive numbers in the NFL. They have J.K. Dobbins, but will he be able to run on Baltimore? Ladd McConkey's really stepped up this season, and Baltimore's offense is loaded. Jackson, Henry, 15 yards shy of 1,200. Flowers, Andrews, likely multiple weapons, multiple ways they can beat you. This is a game that's basically a push-up to me. This one could go either way. I have the Chargers pulling it off because of their defense, winning this one 24-21. We're going to go with that +3, and we're going with the under. But this is a game that I want to watch because I could honestly see this game going either way. I don't want to go anywhere near it, but we have the Chargers winning it. So that's our best bets for all of our Week 13 NFL matchups. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you.